Okay, and here we are live, and we all know what that means. When I clap my hands like that, it means let's get down to business. So this is Tony McClelland Show. Thank you for those that are joining us, and for those that may be watching later on, feel free to drop your questions. Today we are going to be talking about the way forward, the future of leadership, business leadership, and I have, our resident I should say the resident Mike Vacanti, who maybe this should be called the Tony McClelland and the Mike Vacanti Show, because it's very close to becoming that, isn't it, Mike? Welcome again.
Your show, I'm just happy to have an oar in the water, Tony. This is fun to always be with you.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. And I'll have the other oar, and hopefully we're not going around in a circle. We're going forwards. Absolutely. So, thank you. And let's just say hi to a few people that have joined us. So we've got Melody that's joining us. Hi, Mike Vacanti. Happy Falls from Massachusetts, everyone. And we've got Gail. Good morning from Barbados. Thank you for joining us. And we've got Leslie, the delightful Leslie. Happy Monday and the 4th of July in the USA. And Laura, good morning from the forests of Northeast Ohio.
Wow.
Tuning in from the trails of my heart. Oh, thank you so much. And really, really glad that you're able to join us here today. So shall we first of all, before we get stuck in, Mike, shall we first of all acknowledge the 4th of July, Independence Day? So
4th of July, Independence Day. It's a celebration here in the United States. We look back on our history and the founding of a country that I'm proud to be a part of. As I think each country, each sovereign nation that exists to better and lift up and empower and live in freedom for their people. And so, I think in the essence of it, Tony, it is this call to serve that we all feel. And so I'm taking it in that spirit. And while I'm happy to be here in the United States and celebrating what, my country, what I think is a great country, I also, with that independence, wish love and hope and freedom to all of those in other countries for their rights, their sovereignty, their freedoms, and something we should never take for granted, I hope.
Absolutely. So whilst you are celebrating independence today, I am glad that US and UK are joined in forces and acknowledging that today, because we have got an action-packed 25 minutes left for you. So if you are bank holiday, enjoy your bank holiday for those of you that join us from the US, and just acknowledging that and respect to you all. So Mike, why are you laughing? You're laughing already. I haven't
So Mike, it's like, oh, I felt like here it comes.
Yeah, it's like your turn with the oar. So today, I just really wanted to explore as much as we could about the way forward. And one of the things is that I have, as you may know, and others that are in my circle may know, I've created this compassionate business framework. And I have a definition, which I'm going to share with you all as well. So please feel free, if you would like to contribute to another version of your own, or your own. So my version is a compassionate business is a business that is considerate, that takes action for sustainable development and has people at the core of its foundation. It's a business where the leaders, workforce, clients, and stakeholders are at the heart, feel valued, and work collaboratively with a focus on providing better outcomes for all, including the business. So that's my definition, and that is what the driving force behind this is. And it's really a business that is driven by 4 Ps. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 Ps. And those 4 Ps are four.
I'm playing along.
Four. You can do four? Okay. So 4 Ps. So, and those 4 Ps are people, purpose, planet, and profit. And if we are in a public servant space or public sector, distributing public funds, it's really going to be about performance. It might not necessarily be so much of profit. So when we think about people, we put people at the heart. Anything that we do must be purposeful and not led by ego, making decisions for the sake of making decisions. There must be purpose to all of our activity, all of what we're doing, purpose to the organization, mission, vision, values. We need to think about the planet and sustainable development as well as profit and or performance. So I'm just going to kind of set the scene, with that. I've got more that I want to contribute, but I'm also very conscious that because I'm passionate about this, I've probably said enough for the moment. Mike, initial thoughts, initial thinking.
So I like the P's, right? And even the order of them, Tony. So when I'll hit compassionate business, that's great. But when I look at those 4 elements, the outcomes, right? The performance or profit, those are measures, those are end games, they're goals, and they're necessary fuel to keep a business going, but they're also tied to purpose. And so I love that, because performance has many measures, right? So whatever outcome impact is sought after, that can be measured, and it's something again to celebrate. What I like about this, Tony, is I've been focused a lot on why we apologize for winning. Remember how good winning felt? Like when you were competitive in sports and everything, right? And remember, like winning was a good thing, and somehow we've lost I think to a degree we've lost the ability to talk about it like a good thing, and so performance measures, because it can be your social impact, it can be the social justice, it can be social mobility, it can be all of the things that businesses or people are hoping to achieve.
It's about making an impact, isn't it?
Yeah.
Making a difference or being the difference, because that's really kind of what is at the essence of this. And I kind of feel, Mike, that, really where I want to take this discussion is, do you feel that leaders, business leaders, are really aware of this? Because some of the work that I've been doing around working with corporate leaders, they're not necessarily pulling some of these key components together. And I'm going to share with you what I'm going to, sorry, I just got distracted by one of the comments. About usual suspects, so I don't even know who that was. Oh, it's Paul Murray. The Paul Murray, thank you for that. And it's absolutely the usual suspects. But
Tony, can I answer one question that you asked? Because, and it may have been a rhetorical question, but I think it's an important one. When we say, are business leaders finding their way? And I think to degrees, right? And in different areas, but it's almost like those business leaders are going to a horse race track and placing a bet. It's like, well, there's climate, and there's
that's right.
there's compassion, and here is the bet I'm going to lay down, and I'm just going to pick a horse to run in one of those lanes. It's like, no. You have to get your butt out of the stands and go run the race yourself. This isn't placing bets on a horse that you have no attachment to. This is leading your team and your organization with passion and purpose and knowledge, and so
And actually,
I think that it's outside of the leaders, and I think they have to get into the game.
well, do you know how I'm going to put it, Mike? In your analogy, I'm going to say that compassionate business wins. And you're putting a bet on all to win, or all to feature. 1, 2, 3, 4, they all come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe putting a bet on it like that, but really it's a combination of all of these things together. It's not DEI over another, or environment over DEI. It's all of them together, because that's what brings success. So at that note, I just want to kind of before I come back to you and ask you about business leaders, etc., I want to bring in Melody's definition here. She's saying that compassionate business is a business that makes everyone working and it feel like they matter and their voices count. Absolutely. It's about stakeholders, it's about people, community, corporate social responsibility, all of those pieces. So, we've also got Laura Gray saying winners can inspire and ultimately raise the collective vibration.
Yeah. It's a feeling. I mean, if everybody around us or the team as a whole kind of gets that feeling of adulation, right? It's a positive rush of energy, and you kind of want more. It's energizing.
And that's why I think that the compassionate business is the way forward, because it's wrapped up around some of the sustainable development and the sustainable development goals. We have got to hit those targets, all 17 of them, by 2030. So we are in 2022. If you take this on board now, then you're going to be 8 years ahead. You're going to be a leader in the game. Yeah. Should we have a pandemic ever again, you're going to be well ahead, so you're going to be the horse that's in front, as we're talking about betting, and my bet would be on horses anyway. So we've got Leslie here that's saying it's an epitome of effective mastermind. Thank you so much, Leslie. You're going to be here soon anyway, and I look forward to making that space for you right beside us. And what have we got here? We've got be nice on the way up, you'll meet the same people on the way down. Thank you so much. And honesty is honorable, and being humble is 3 times. Thank you so much. I'm assuming that's Paul Murray. Thank you so much. So, Mike, do you think, because I think that when we talk about leaders, there's a lot of people that are actually feeling that leaders is just about leading people. But my thing is leadership is more than leading people.
Well,
it's about vision, mission, strategy.
Yes.
Business.
And I think that's a funny distinction, right? And we think of leaders, Tony, we think of elected officials of countries or people placed in power. That's one form of leadership. And for this discussion, I think we're talking about business leaders. And I like to differentiate a little bit, because the tracks are a bit different.
Yeah.
But in business, I believe that we manage the business, right? And so it's a whole skill set of being capable and have understanding of the market and the way that a business works, the economic conditions and things that are important to run the daily activities of a business. And I think it's its own discipline, it's its own skill set. So I think we manage the business, but we lead people. We can't lead a business because those are functional things, but we can lead people to manage the business well. And I think that's where you're tying it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that I would kind of put that is that if all we know is about leading people, then where are we leading to?
Right.
Where are we leading them to? So that's the piece around more than the understanding of people. As a business leader, it's having that vision as well, the mission, and knowing that you're leading, in that way, and not just the people, because you'll have happy people, but really, where's the vision, the mission, the values, and all of that? What's the direction that you're moving them to? So that's kind of really where I'm thinking. Mike.
Yeah, it's great, Tony, and those areas and the awareness, right? So what is critical? What is most important? Because as you know, us humans, we have our blind spots, right? So and so always growing awareness and always be learning is important, because we often see leaders that they act like I was with some friends over the weekend here, and
Can I just say, Mike, if you're going to give us a great example, which I'm sure it will be, we're just having a little bit of audio, a little bit of friction on your audio, and I'm sure I would, and I'm sure everybody would love to hear you as clearly as possible. So there's just a slight distortion, but it's been picked up. I just wanted to bring that into your awareness.
How is it now, Tony?
It's better.
So let me check a setting here.
Okay, so while you're just checking on that, Paul, we want you to have a positive listening experience. So Melody, what have we got here? We have to lead them to the best of ourselves. Absolutely. We lead them into higher positions, allowing others to emulate them as they move up as well. Yes, but this is the people piece. Leading people. But what about leading business? And I think that we need to make sure that there's a differentiation between that, because there are people that lead people well. And you need to be able to do all in terms of the business as well. How are we doing, Mike? You ready to speak to us? Okay. Maybe in a moment, Mike will join us again. So really, just to fill the gap until we've got Mike back, I'm just thinking about the way forward. And one of the things that I would do is, because the compassionate business, what it does is it hooks all of these large agendas together. So you've got corporate social responsibility, which is around the community, the extended workforce into the community, and that's social responsibility. We've got DEI, which is about the people, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know about those pieces. We've got the ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance. If you're in a public sector, you can't even apply for funding without having this framework in place. And it's all about people and those relationships. When we think about SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 of them that are attached to the planet, environmental, sustainability, equalities, energy, food, all of these things. So this framework pulls all of them together. So I'm just going to pull a couple of those in now. So Melody, we've got Simon Sinek speaks well on this subject with his mission. Okay, so that's great. It's great that I'm aligned with Simon Sinek.
You like that, Tony?
I can hear you now really clearly. So, and we had Leslie's contribution there. So you're back with us now, Mike.
I am. I plugged in a new toy here, so hopefully that will help.
Well, we missed you. We missed you for all of the 2 minutes.
I could hear clearly, and I love what you shared, and I think, Tony, that sometimes when you have a little child that so you mentioned the governance, the the way we treat people. So the DEI, the social impact, um, the awareness of planet. And so when we pick our priorities as leaders, right, I think you hit something really important is we have to be aware of all those things. We can't like say they don't exist. And what I was going to say is I was with some friends over the weekend and they have small children. And it's funny to play peekaboo with a really small child, right? Because when they cover their eyes, the small child, they think you can't see them. And so it's a funny thing. And I think as simple as that is, business leaders do that. It's like, yes. I hear DEI, but I don't. You can't see me. Like, I,
Yeah.
and I really think that adult people with high responsibility are that childish when they're unaware that each of those streams, each of those responsibilities are important. Which ones are most invested in are those are choices. And I think that each business, each leader, each group of people gets to prioritize where they put their energies or resources or money in their priorities, but let's at least be aware of
That's
the
right.
the impact, right? It's just like, well, the climate's not my fault, so I'm you can't see me. And I really do think we operate with that lack of maturity often in business, and we forgive people for it, and we can do better.
Well, that's why it pulls it all together, Mike. And I love that example of hands over eyes, and because I was just kind of thinking about that just for a moment. But I'm going to give an example that kind of will hopefully for the listeners will set things in context. So let's think about hybrid working for a moment,
Yeah.
or the remote working. So what's that got to do with compassionate business? What's that got to do with sustainability? Well, actually, it has. What's that got to do with DEI? So let me just kind of break this down. Remote working, someone's working at home remotely. So sustainable development, one of the sustainable development goals is around clean and affordable energy. Okay, we know that the inflation has gone up 9% instead of 3%. And so clean and affordable energy is, fuel's gone up in price. We know that. So getting to the office is going to be more costly on that individual. Staying at home, energy rise is going to be more costly for that individual. Where people are working from home, the rates or the cost of energy in the office may have gone down. What's that got to do? So that's got to do with sustainable development goals, clean and affordable energy. It's got to do with fuel. Things like the war between Russia and Ukraine. Fuel, that's linked. That's still linked with the planet. It's still linked with corporate social responsibility. We still have to think about supply chain. So even though some areas are very loose, they're still really connected together. So when I'm having that conversation with somebody who is doing remote working, I have to think about affordable energy. I have to think about if they can manage. I have to think about if they can afford it. Is it cheaper to come into the office? Is it cheaper for you to stay at home? So that's an example, even though it's a very broad example, but it's an example of how intrinsically linked all of these areas are. Did you like my little Mike?
I do. And I think, Tony, what happens is depending on where somebody is from their mindset about, the energy and the politics of all of that, it is true that we've learned there are options. So I can give an example, that's close here. There's a corporation that is, it's a large retail corporation, and its home base is here in Minneapolis, where I live. It's called Target Corporation. So throughout the country of the United States, they have large footprint of stores in many cities across the country, called Target Corporation. Well, in downtown Minneapolis, they leased about 1 million square feet of space and brought people downtown to work together. And through the pandemic, they learned that they could cut that in about a third. So now they have they let go of a third of their space, and many of the jobs, those people will be have been informed that they will be able to work remotely at their choice for as long as they want to. And there will just be like community space in the office where they can hold team meetings if they should desire to do that. So I think there has been a big change of thinking. There's examples where there's opportunities to rethink a lot of those parameters and paradigms.
And it might not even necessarily be to get down deep into all the politics of it, but it might be just about thinking about remote working, hybrid working, and the cost of fuel,
Yeah.
at the same time, because these are the things that are going to come into the conversation, and the things that when we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that people may not necessarily want to be mentioning out loud. So, that's how I'm kind of pulling it together. So, Leslie is saying children have no consciousness mind until around 6 years. They are rather present like cats and dogs. So I think we're talking about the hiding behind. And what have we got here? I do practice, practice, practice. And Leslie again is saying a little bit like Marks and Spencer's, in terms of the description that you were giving, Mike, about that organization.
Thank you. Tony, I would love to comment. Gail asked a question here. Do we think leaders can be successfully trained to be genuinely compassionate? So I think that's a tough one in my experience, and in the 3+ years of Humans First, and looking at going around and listening to people, many people, groups of people. It's hard to find a program we can train leaders on to be genuinely compassionate, but there is a lot of information we can share to help them and encourage them along that discovery. So we can never force people along that path, but we can certainly encourage and make available rapid acceleration of those choices and understanding. That would be my answer to, I think, a really important question. Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that question, Gail. And my response to that would really be around, I don't think that we can train people to be compassionate, but what we can do is we can do more around self-awareness, because compassion is a human innate behavior, skill. In my opinion, we're born more compassionately, when we're younger, and it changes. So for me, it's really about coming back and being more in tune with yourself, really tapping into your self-awareness, those beliefs, those mindsets, where, the things that have influenced our behavior over the years, and readdressing that. And I think that brings us closer to compassion in that way. So the training, I would say, is not directly compassionate training, but it's more training about how to be more self-aware and in your activity. So that's how I would kind of go about that. So hopefully that helps. So, but I loved your comment there, Mike. And we've got David Pushkin. We haven't heard from you for a little while. So yeah, let's get your thoughts up here. Great points being raised here. Leaders adapt and see opportunity to work smarter. Thank you so much. And it's great to have you join us as well. And Leslie saying inspire them. And we've also got Paul again, who's saying it's a personality trait from life experience. To be compassionate, in my view, cannot be learned in a classroom or online. I totally agree with that. So what we've got here is we've got thanks, Mike, because some leaders are not naturally compassionate in any way. They don't know how. Yeah. And the thing about it is that I personally believe that some of this is about behaviors, embedded, learned, taught, environmental factors that have influenced, people that we've been around, that have influenced our beliefs and helped us, that's influenced our behaviors as well. And some of it is we have to go back to, it's almost like stripping some of it back, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it is. And we all have experiences of working with those people that are just not aware, right? And Like if it was an odor, if their behavior was an odor, then people would really notice. It would be intolerable. It's like, oh no, get them out of the room. But toxic behavior sometimes it's odorless, right? So it's less able to be called out by everyone, and I think that's a mistake that gets made. And I love that comment because there's still a lot of information influence out there that from and it's not a man thing. It's men and women, everything else, and there's books out there, and I see them launched all the time. But this bad assery, right? So I'm going to be a badass, and and it's like, well, what if that's not really the goal, right? What if the bad ass is that person with the greatest capacity to love and help others, right? Because that person doesn't stink.
Well, there you go. There you go. And how I would kind of look at it is because when I go into organizations and do change management and look at it, I look at it from the perspective of I'm not looking for all these individual policies, because they're policies, they're words on a paper. If I'm going to look for any particular policy around people, it's going to be the workforce development policy, which is going to really talk about how, if people, how you are showing that you value your staff. It's going to talk about, development opportunities, holidays, well-being, how you're looking after your staff's mental well-being, all of those, everything under one, because then that is the centerpiece for me, rather than all these different types of policies there's too many. Just kind of, let's just bring it all in.
Yeah.
Bring it all in. And I'm not saying bring it all under one umbrella, but that's my central focus point. I want to know how you deal with your staff, incentives, opportunities, employment, promotion, days off, holidays, religious or faith festivals that we acknowledge. That says an awful lot about an organization, and we don't need to, in my opinion, we don't need to have all these 200-page or, long, big documents that are just going to gather dust on the. So for me, it's about pulling it all together. That's really, and I think about that from a perspective of if I'm in that position, that's what I want. I don't want to be thinking about all these different things that have to kind of interlink. I want to be able to pull them together.
I love the way you describe that, Tony, and my reflection on that is it really does open the opportunity to meet people where they are, right? So anything that's policy or
I know.
it assumes sameness, right? And so if we have a person over here and a person over here, and they have different needs of growth and development, and to say, here's the one thing you all have to agree on and pretend that you're aligned with it 100%, right? And so, that's never the case.
The policy is there as a central piece, but you and I know, Mike, even with guidance, it's there and it's open to interpretation, because each person will interpret it in their own way. So, very soon there will be, this is how we as an organization are off what the things that we are offering our staff.
Right.
But there's going to be some sections that are 3.1 open to interpretation, 3.4 open to interpretation, because it does depend on that individual leader or manager as well. But we do need that pull.
And the training programs around that, right? So whatever policies are there, whatever vision and goals and path is laid out, each person needs to fulfill their area of contribution. And that could be shoring up a weakness or accelerating a strength, whatever is chosen, right? It's not to say, hey, we want everybody to be the same and you're less the same in these areas than some of the other people. So we're going to shore up these areas where you're less than all the others. And it's like, well, why wouldn't how about if you let me emphasize my strengths, and as long as it's in alignment, right? And so I think that's the balance. And Tony, again, what I hear you say is it's really this program's or the framework is really an opportunity to meet people where they are and let them grow and accelerate from their current point of being, rather than say, I really wish you were somebody else.
That's right.
We could go out and hire somebody that's not you, and they would be better.
What it actually does, Mike, is, just how you were saying about hiding, there's no hiding place.
Yeah.
Because this is making it so easy for you that you don't need to get distracted with all of this mountain of paperwork that means nothing, that's going to gather dust.
There's a word for that,
It's
right?
light work. It's light work because some of it is open to interpretation. What you've got is the guidelines there, which is the central guidelines. But really, it's about how you treat your people and treat your people well. And the other pieces will follow. You need to have your purpose. That as an organization, yes, you do need. You need to be able to understand what that purpose is and not just do things for the sake of doing them.
Yeah.
Purpose. What's the purpose of this activity? And understand how it impacts all these different groups so that you can maximize your profit or your performance, whichever one it is that you're going for. And that's, so so what this actually does, Mike, you're right, it takes away that hiding space.
Yeah. And there's psychological safety in that, right? So it's just like, yes, Mike, come in with all like those weird quirks of yours, that weirdness, like the way you use analogies to explain everything. That's weird. And we get a little tired of it, but we're not going to punish you for that. We're going to allow you your weirdness. We're just going to help you find other ways to communicate in certain situations to be more effective. Right. And so I get to show up with, my strength and my flaws. I'm welcome into the group, and I'm encouraged to learn and grow. And so now the awareness is there, and like that's true compassion.
So,
right?
So what we do is we take out 0.1, 0.7, and 0.10 of what we need and put that away and build in the human aspect.
Right.
Rather than being prescriptive in that way. So really that's what this is about. And let's bring in some more of these comments, Mike. And Leslie asks, let's go to Melody first. So Melody isn't just business, it's core. Is the business soul and their business practices speak loudly of what it is? Thank you so much. And Leslie's asking, can pretending be practicing? Very interesting. Yes, I think it can.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it is something I want to caution to think through a lot. But practicing, I think that, trying on a new skill, it's not pretending you've mastered it, but it certainly is practicing it. And I think that
I think so.
Can be encouraged.
How I kind of saw that is the exploration of it, not knowing, but the exploration. So that's how I saw it in my mind, that you're exploring, so therefore you're practicing. And that's how, and maybe that needs to be pulled apart a little bit more, but that was my initial thinking, Mike.
It's a good one.
Thank you. So on to Gail. Gail, like role playing. Sorry, I wasn't sure what that was in relation to, but
it was in pretending and can pretending be practicing, and so I think that whole. So I think the role playing was following in that, Tony.
Okay, and well, that could work too. That could work too as a response. That's great. Yeah. Repetition is ultimately what instills the habit of belief, right? Yes, like being the CEO before you even start. Yes. Okay, so thank you so much. It's about them believing they're okay as they are and as they are not. Melody has said, fake it till you make it can lead to imposter syndrome. Yeah, fake it till you make it is not necessarily always the best way. But what I would say is that there's always help out there and you can ask for help. And that's the piece where People have difficulty, the greatest difficulty, asking for that help.
Can I give an example of that, Tony, which I think is important? So there are skills that can help us get through this, transformation when I want to. So if I'm the person that's leading and I'm unaware and I don't really care what you think and stop whining and everybody should be the same and what's wrong with you, kind of, if I'm that leader, and I want to understand what being a compassionate leader really is. And Tony, I want to go down that path. I have the desire, but I just don't know how to change my mind about it. And one of the areas that I could possibly grow with is listening. Mike, start listening more. And so while maybe I don't have that skill inside me, if I practice listening, even if I pretend I'm listening more and my mind's just going crazy, I'm practicing a skill. And if I tell you, Tony, I'm trying to learn to listen better. And so I'm pretending I'm listening, but I'm trying to get better at it. And you see me progress and you can help me progress. And my team sees me progress and they're helping me progress. And they can laugh at me and I can laugh at myself because I go from pretending to listen to being a good listener. And that happens over a period of time.
That's right.
I think that evolution is important, but we have to call out the end goal, and then we have to, call out our weakness and our vulnerability in that learning curve, because at some point they're just going to go, "Wow, you improved."
So you said weakness and vulnerability, which is so key, but I'm also going to throw in the word risk.
Yeah.
Because people associate that with risk. But if you can mitigate the risk, or minimize it, then it makes it even easier. It's of a obstacle to overcome. So, well, we are going to move to the close. So I'm going to ask you for closing thoughts, but I am going to just Leslie saying, bingo. Really appreciate your thoughts and suggestions today. I had a boss that would say, "Stop whining," but my team and I had serious concerns. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Gail. And we've got Melody. I think it can be viewed as courage through the vulnerability instead of faking.
Right.
So look, we're problem solving amongst ourselves here. Everybody's a part of this discussion, and that's what's so beautiful about this, that everybody is coming up and we're working out a solution as we speak live. So risk. People want to risk. Do people really want to risk their reputation, or but are they risking their reputation by asking for help?
Well, it's really funny, Tony, because if we don't acknowledge our flaws, we are going like this if we think people aren't seeing our flaws. So if we think we're hiding them, we're the ignorant ones, because when we're working in an environment, we're working close with people and they have some interactions with us, exposure to us, then we are exposed. Our tendencies, our little flaws, our quirks, our warts are there. And I think when we own them, then we have an opportunity to also embrace and let others have theirs. And the goal again is to get to a better place together. That outcome, that performance, that feeling of contribution along the way, that brings us hope and inspires us to do more and achieve that sense of adulation.
And a lot of it, I feel, for me, comes back to self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's about belief. It's about, confidence in your belief, ability. Where are you at? Where do your beliefs come from? Are you challenging your beliefs or what's been instilled in you? If you go into an organization, do you just suddenly adopt everything that's going on because it has been going on for the last 50 years by the person that led it 50 years ago? Or do you say, well, why do you do this? Right. Because if you question something, then others will question again. But really,
and that's learning, right? So, I mean, as we continue to learn and grow, we create greater context to learn and grow more. And if we're not just building it as context for that next opportunity to learn, then we're kind of missing the point of
Well, that's
maturity.
you've raised a key bit there, Mike, because what I'm going to come back on is that what you know if we had another pandemic, for example, or if we had another repeat of the last 3 years, even to date with inflation, everything, what's going on in the war, what do we need to know in our business for it to be successful? What do we need to be doing to be a market leader? What do we need to be doing to be leading from the front and staying relevant? And I think that that's a big question there that I'm going to ask people, I'm going to leave people with, but I'm not going to leave you with, Mike, because I would like you to. What's that? As if you decided to put yourself on the hot seat today. So what is it that people need to know? Leaders need to know moving forward to be successful in their business.
Well, change is going to be more rapid and more significant than at any time in the past. And so openness to greater awareness, openness to ideas, and it's going to take input from areas that and avenues that we probably haven't opened ourselves up to. So leaders need to be more open to inputs and more vulnerability, because the challenge is going to be excessive to what they've known in the past. And then again, that's that we only use our current learnings as capacity to learn more. And if we don't have that, I think leaders will fail.
Thank you. And listening comes into this because we can't learn if we're speaking. Anyway.
So you know that I made sure I kept my mouth closed and I did not say anything.
No. It was just something that, because I got a quote that I kind of put out about the fact that we need to listen more. The only thing that we can learn when we're speaking is that we need to listen more, because actually, and there's a saying, I'm not sure where it's come from or who owns it. If anyone knows, please tell me, but it's the quietest person in the room is usually the smartest person in the room. So there's things around that as well, but there's a whole piece around listening, and even before we listen to others, listen to ourselves and really check in with ourselves. Where are we at, in all of this? Because once you get a sense of where you're at, then I saw something that was posted recently, Mike, online, and I won't get into the detail of it, but it really kind of triggered me, and I wasn't sure why. And I thought, why is this bothering me? Why am I feeling like this about this particular post that's been posted? And I couldn't really understand what it was that was triggering me. And I went back to the post, and it came down. So I knew there was something, and the author must have thought there was something as well, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But and I think it's so important that before you react, you check in with yourself and that vulnerability. And on that note, Mike, I'm just going to ask you for some closing words.
Some closing words. I think we know that there's two areas of intelligence. There's our heart intelligence, there's our head intelligence. That the average person every day has between 12 and 60,000 thoughts. And of those thoughts, 95% of them are the same as the day before. 80% of those are negative thoughts. And so our ability to change our minds exists. But when we connect our heart intelligence, that thing we feel like that didn't feel right, well, then it probably wasn't right. And when we need to understand that. And so I do believe that it's the compassionate business, the compassionate leader truly knows how to connect that heart and head to lead people effectively.
Well, that was very good, Mike. I like I like it. I like it. You almost done it better than me. That was great. It really was. It really was. And thank you so much. And I'm just gonna say it's been a real pleasure having you join us. Great question. That was the question that I asked about what do leaders of the future need. And thank you so much. I'm going to say thank you to David Pushkin, Laura, Melody, Gail, everyone that's joined us, Paul as well there. Yeah, everyone that's joined us, asked a question, contribute to the conversation. Laura, we really, really do appreciate you. And I just want to leave by saying, or asking the question, what is it that you as a leader need to be robust for the future? Should we have another, turbulent 3 years, because it was, as much as it was a turbulent 3 years, it was full of opportunities too. And it's to see the opportunities that have been within that and to lead from the front. And that's really what we're trying to do here. So just want to say thank you very much. Mike, you've left me thinking about some things as well. And we're going to be back here again next week, Monday, same time, different subject. And Mike will be here again on another day. And, he's taken up the resident chair. So if there's a particular theme that you would like us to discuss with you, then please just drop it in the chat. And we will be happy to, won't we, Mike?
Yeah.
To explore that.
And thank you for the engagement, everybody. That was wonderful. Thank you.
And
Tony, this is just a gift to be with you. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. No problem. And it will be great in our next exploration, Mike, to have a couple of people that have been very loyal in terms of listening and engaging to join us here as well. That could be very interesting, couldn't it?
Yes, it could.
Yes, it could. Okay, on that note, have a fabulous morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Mike, as usual, you're the best, and thank you. Take care.
Bye,
and stay there. Yeah, stay there. So I'm gonna play everybody out. So bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me and my guest today on Critical Reflections with Your Critical Friend. Today, you got just a very, very small sprinkling of Tony's fairy dust. But if you'd like more, then do reach out for speaking or hosting. It's TonyMcClelland.com. For social impact, social justice, or social mobility, check out our work at firstlifegroup.com. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, feel encouraged, be inspired, be empowered, and make a difference. Bye for now.